Good morning, students. So we are discussing already our 11th chapter. It is all about the biomolecules. Biomolecules. So biomolecules are considered to be biomolecules and biomolecules are nothing but the organic compounds that are present in a living organisms. So these biomolecules are considered to be an organic compounds and these are present in a living organisms. ఒక లివింగ్ ఆర్గానిజమ్స్లో ఈ బయోమాలిక్యూల్స్ అనేటువంటివి ఉండడం జరిగింది and these biomolecules are being categorized and these are being obtained from a living organisms by some specific methods. కొన్ని మెథడ్స్ ద్వారా వీటిని మనం ఐసోలేట్ చేసాం. మనం ఎలా అయితే ప్రీవియస్ క్లాస్లో చెప్పుకున్నామో లైక్ ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ ఇట్ వెజిటేటివ్ టిష్యూ ఆఫ్ ఎ ప్లాంట్ ఆర్ లివర్స్ టిష్యూ ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్ యానిమల్. సో వాటిని తీసుకొని వాటిలో ట్రైక్లోరోఅసిటిక్ యాసిడ్ వేసి దాన్ని గ్రైండ్ చేసిన తర్వాత మనకు వచ్చిన ఆ థిక్ స్లర్రీని కాస్త కాటన్ క్లాత్ ఆర్ చీజ్ క్లాత్తో ఫిల్టర్ చేసిన తర్వాత యాసిడ్ soluble part, acid insoluble part. Acid soluble parts will give to the organic compounds, whereas acid insoluble part will give to the mainly 4 kinds of organic compounds called as proteins, lipids, polysaccharides, nucleic acids. Okay, and next we also described this is all in case of an animal cell or animal tissue, and we described about the plant cell or vegetative tissue. That vegetative tissue, because it is it is consists of some fleshy substance or fleshy fluid inside it. In order to remove that water, that plant is to be dried. అది డ్రై చేసినప్పుడు అందులో ఉన్న వాటర్ కంటెంట్ అంతా కూడా కార్బోహైడ్రాక్సైడ్ రూపంలో అది వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. అది వెళ్ళిపోయిన తర్వాత దాన్ని తీసుకొని దట్ ఈస్ బీయింగ్ డ్రైడ్ అండ్ దట్ ఈస్ బీయింగ్ బర్న్డ్. ఆఫ్టర్ బర్నింగ్ దే విల్ బీ అ ఫార్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్ యాష్ అనేది మనకి ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. దట్ యాష్ మెటీరియల్ ఈస్ బీయింగ్ అండర్ గోయింగ్ అ కెమికల్ అనాలిసిస్. అది కెమికల్ అనాలిసిస్ అయిన తర్వాత మనకి మళ్ళీ కొన్ని స్ట్రక్చర్స్ ఫామ్ అవుతాయి, వాటిని మళ్ళీ డెవలప్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. It may be an organic elements, it can be an organic compounds. Elements like sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, compounds like sulfates, nitrates, phosphates, ivanni. And we started discussing about the biomacromolecules. In that biomacromolecules, we started our discussion with proteins. So these proteins are considered to be polymers of amino acids. Proteins అన్నిటిని ఏమన్నాము? These proteins are considered to be a polymers of amino acids. And these are also considered as the polypeptides of amino acids. What? Polypeptides of amino acids. And another thing, these proteins are considered as amino acids are considered to be a building blocks, and these proteins can be an enzyme, these proteins can be an hormone, these proteins can be everything. Okay, organic compounds, they may be acidic, alkaline, neutral, aromatic proteins. So based on their structure, the main protein structure of every amino acid should has a central carbon atom and 4 surrounding valency bonds. Among them, one is having an hydroxyl group, other one is having a carboxyl group, the one will be followed with an amino group, and the R group is a variable, it can be anything. Okay, so and we discussed about the structure of proteins అనేటివన్నీ కూడా amino acids తో మేడప్ అయి ఉంటాయి, and these amino acids are being linked up with another amino acid by a special bond called as a peptide bond, and that bond is formed between the carboxyl group of one amino acid attached to the amino group of another amino acid. Carboxyl group amino group కాస్త రెండు అటాచ్ అయ్యి ఆ యొక్క పెప్టైడ్ బాండ్ని ఫామ్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. So this is all about the previous class what I have said. Now we will discuss about these proteins show 4 kinds of structures. 4 kinds of structures. primary proteins or primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, quaternary structure. So these proteins are mainly differentiated into four kinds of a structure: primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, and quaternary structure. So if you see that all these structures, primary structure of a protein, first we will discuss. These structures show a positional information or sequence of amino acids in the protein. It shows a sequence of amino acids in the proteins, and left hand side of the linear peptide is called as a N-terminal, and right hand side of the linear polypeptide manam C-terminal అని అంటున్నాం. సో ఇక్కడ synthesis, this is a protein, the arrangement will be like this. This is called as an N side or N terminus. This is a C side or C terminus of the polypeptide chain. Sequence of amino acids in a protein అనేటువంటివి ఇలా synthesize అవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. And if you take the secondary structure ఇందులో ఏంటి సీక్వెన్స్. ఇక్కడ సెకండరీ స్ట్రక్చర్కి వచ్చేసరికి లీనియర్ పాలీపెప్టైడ్ ప్రొడ్యూసెస్ రైట్ హ్యాండెడ్ కాయిలింగ్ నేచర్. It is a linear polypeptide రైట్ హ్యాండెడ్ కాయిలింగ్ నేచర్. ఇంకా దీన్నే ఆల్ఫా హెలిక్స్ ఇంకా బీటా ప్లేటెడ్ షీట్స్ అని అంటున్నాం. దిస్ సెకండరీ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోటీన్స్ is again divided into alpha helix, beta pleated structures. Okay, so this is all about the secondary structure of the protein. And now we will move on to the tertiary structure of the protein. This tertiary structure of the protein chains come from a hollow woolen ball-like structure showing a three-dimensional tertiary structure కాస్త ఇలా ఉంటుంది, ball-like structure. Like this. Okay, this is a tertiary structure. And last, if we move, it is a three-dimensional woolen-like structure. And last, quaternary structure, if you see that the proteins with many monomers or subunits may be arranged into a linear space of a cubes కానీ ఎలా అరేంజ్ అంటే దాని quaternary అని అంటాం. ఇలా this is nothing but a beta pleated sheet, this is alpha helix. So ఇలా ఉంటే మనం వాటిని proteins and protein structure. So this is all about the different types of the proteins as well as protein structure. So with this we have done with our proteins, and in this proteins we will discuss about the different types. We will discuss about the different types of the proteins. Proteins ante asalu enti? These proteins are considered as the amino acids, or these are made up of an amino acids. We can also call these proteins as the polymers of amino acids. These are biological organic compounds, and proteins can be having a varieties of nature. The main important function of this proteins is it has some ion carriers, transport ki ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, and it have some high nutritional value if they are present. And proteins are obtained from different sources: essential amino acids, non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are the amino acids which we take in the form of a food or our diet, and non-essential amino acids are the amino acids which are directly produced in our body. And these proteins can be an acidic, basic or alkaline, neutral, and aromatic in nature. This may be an enzyme, this may be an hormone, this may be another biological organic compounds. Okay, and the most formed animal protein is the collagen, and the plant protein is the ribisco. And this protein having a bond called a peptide bond. This peptide bond is formed between the carboxyl group of one amino acid to to the amino group of another amino acid. And if you move on to the types of structures of proteins. Proteins has been differentiated to 4 types: primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary and quaternary. Primary lo sequence of amino acids arrange ayi untayi starting from N side to the C side. Secondary lo a linear sequence of amino acids are being arranged. Tertiary lo a woolen like a bunch, it gives a 3-dimensional view. Quaternary like beta pleated sheath and alpha helix రూపంలో arrange అయి ఉంటుంది. So this is all about the proteins. That is the first organic compound. మనం 4 గురించి చదవాలి కదా: proteins, lipids, polysaccharides, nucleic acids. So we have done with our first one. Next we will move on to the second one, that is about the lipids. Second one, that is the lipids. So lipids are considered as the water insoluble biomacromolecules. So these lipids are mainly considered as water insoluble బయోమాక్రోమాలిక్యూల్స్. అంటే ఈ లిపిడ్స్ ఏవైతే ఆర్గానిక్ కాంపౌండ్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఇవి వాటర్లో సాల్యుబుల్ అవ్వవు. సాల్యుబుల్ అవ్వవు అంటే డిజాల్వ్ అవ్వవు. మనం ఎలా అయితే సాల్ట్ కానీ షుగర్ కానీ వాటర్లో డిజాల్వ్ చేస్తే డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుంది, అలాగే ఒక ఆయిల్ వేసి చూడండి, బికాస్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అ లిపిడ్ కంటైన్స్ ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్స్, ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ డిజాల్వ్ ఇన్ వాటర్. సో దోస్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ అ లిపిడ్. దోస్ ఆర్ నార్మల్లీ water insoluble biomacromolecules, and these lipids are considered to be an esters of fatty acids and glycerols. These are lipids are called as an esters of fatty acids as well as glycerol. అంటే ఈ లిపిడ్స్లో మనకి ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్ గ్రూప్ ఇంకా గ్లిజరాల్ గ్రూప్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. అండ్ ద బాండ్ ప్రజెంట్ ఇన్ దిస్ లిపిడ్స్ ఈజ్ ఎన్ ఎస్టార్ బాండ్. ఎస్టార్ బాండ్ ఈజ్ ప్రజెంట్ అండ్ సింపుల్ లిపిడ్ కన్సిస్ట్ ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్. సో నేను ఏమని చెప్పాను, లిపిడ్స్ అంటే నథింగ్ బట్ ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్స్. మనకి ఎలా అయితే ప్రోటీన్స్ అంటే అమైనో యాసిడ్స్, లిపిడ్స్ ఆర్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్స్. So these lipids are commonly called as a fatty acid. A simple lipid consists of fatty acid which CH3I, C2H5, more than one CH2 groups are attached to COOH. So normalga oka CH2 group, more than one CH2 groups are attached to COOH. ఈ CH2 గ్రూప్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దానికి ఒకటి కన్నా ఎక్కువ యాడ్ అయినప్పుడు దాన్ని మనం డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్యాటీ యాసిడ్స్ గ్రూప్స్ అని అంటున్నాం. సో ద నార్మల్ ఫార్ములా ఈజ్ CH2. సో ఇందులో ఒకటి కన్నా ఎక్కువ యాడ్ అయినప్పుడు అది దట్ గివ్స్ అ fatty acid. So now here this is considered to be a palmitic acid. దాన్ని ఏమంటున్నాము, palmitic acid. And arachidonic acid ఉంటుంది, అందులో 20 carbon fatty acid. It is a simple fatty acid with a glycerol which is also called as trihydroxypropane అని కూడా అనొచ్చు. దాన్ని ఏమంటాము, trihydroxypropane అని కూడా అంటున్నాం. And a lipid, normalగా what we said, this lipid is considered to be an esters of fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, so these lipids are being considered as an esters of fatty acids and glycerols, and this based on that this lipids is again differentiated into 3 types: monoglycerides, diglycerides, triglycerides. Monoglycerides, diglycerides, triglycerides. Based on this fatty acids composition, they have been differentiated into 3 types: monoglycerides, diglycerides and triglycerides. So if you take that, what is the normal molecular formula? As I said, it will be arranged in this CH2, CH2. So this is an arrangement. As I said, monoglyceride. Monoglyceride ఇక్కడ O COR1. It is an only idokkati unte, only if there is the presence of only this one thing, that is a monoglyceride. If there is another thing here like this is a diglyceride. If there is another thing at the last, this is a triglyceride. Okay, so ఇవి రెండు లేక ఇది ఒక్కటే ఉంటే మోనో, ఇది ఒక్కటి లేక ఈ రెండు ఉంటే డై, ఈ మూడు ఉంటే ట్రైగ్లిసరైడ్. Okay, so this is all about the lipids, and lipids associated with phosphates are called as phospholipids. When these lipids are associated with the phosphate, thus is called as a phospholipids. That is called as a phospholipids. And the equation of this phospholipids, or example of this phospholipids, is lecithins, cephalins, ivanni kuda unna, avanni meeku ee level ki no need of explaining all that. Okay, so this is all about the lipids. So usually these lipids are considered to be a water insoluble biomacromolecules. Okay, and these are the esters of fatty acids and glycerols. So as I said, proteins are considered to be an amino acid. So now here lipids are called as a fatty acid. So this is all about the lipids, and now we will move on to our next important biological compound. Next important biological compound, that is a third one, polysaccharides. So these are commonly called as a sugars or carbohydrates. So these are commonly called as a sugars or also called as a carbohydrates. So these polysaccharides are considered to be a biomacromolecules in the form of long chain thread-like made up ఉంటాయి with the subunits of monosaccharides. These are made up of a subunits of monosaccharides. So ఇందులో ఉన్న సబ్యూనిట్స్ కాస్త అవేంటివి, ఈ monosaccharides. These monosaccharides are linked to each other. These monosaccharides are linked to each other by a glycosidic bond. ఈ monosaccharides అన్నీ కూడా ఒకదానికొకటి లింక్ అప్ అయి ఉంటాయి by the glycosidic bond that is formed between the adjacent carbons. Glycosidic bonds తో అవి ఒకదానికొకటి లింక్ అప్ అయి ఉంటాయి by an adjacent carbons or adjacent bonds. Okay, so these monosaccharide units are linked between these two. Proteins లో peptide bond ఉంటుంది, lipids లో ester bond ఉంటుంది. Polysaccharide లో there will be the presence of glycosidic bond. Okay, so these proteins or these monosaccharides are being formed between a glycosidic bond between the adjacent carbon atoms of two monosaccharide unit. ఒక monosaccharide ఇంకో ఇందులో ఉన్న కార్బన్ యూనిట్స్ మధ్యలో గ్లైకోసైడిక్ బాండ్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. And the molecular formula is C6H12O6. What is the normal molecular formula here? C6H12O6. Okay, and If you take these polysaccharides are considered to be polysaccharides lo malli manaku chaala examples unnayi. Among them cellulose, starch, glycogen, inulin. What are the main things? Cellulose, starch, glycogen, inulin are the examples of the sugars or the carbohydrates of this polysaccharides. Polysaccharides ante indulo single monosaccharide kaakunda ekkuva sugars untayi. A more number of monosaccharide units are present. So polysaccharides ke example vachesariki cellulose, starch, glycogen and inulin. So if you see this cellulose is considered to be a homopolymeric polysaccharides with any glucose subunits. ఇదేంటి homopolysaccharide. Homo అంటే similar with any glucose subunit. ఏదైనా glucose subunit తో ఇది made up. If you take starch, it is a polysaccharide and it acts as a reserve food material in case of a plant. ఇది రిజర్వ్ ఫుడ్ మెటీరియల్ లాగా యాక్ట్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. అండ్ ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ ఎ గ్లైకోజన్, ఇట్ ఈస్ అ polysaccharide and it is synthesized in animals with glucose subunit. And if you take an inulin, it is also a polysaccharide but here it has a fructose subunits. ఇది animals లో రిజర్వ్ ఫుడ్ లాగా యాక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. Okay, and there is another thing called as an amino sugar like glucose amines, that is an N-galactose amine. Amino sugar like glucose amine, దాన్ని మనం ఏమంటున్నాము N-acetyl glucose amine. This is present in a cell wall of fungi. Okay, and there is another important thing is paper from the plant pulp is cellulose. Cotton fiber is nothing but a cellulose. Okay, and if you see the dynamic states of the body constituents, here comes the concept of a metabolism. So first here we'll discuss what do you mean by a metabolism. If you remember your starting chapters, maybe in our living world, the first chapter I have explained about the life process, growth, irritability, metabolism, reproduction and different phases గురించి explain చేశాను. So at that time I have explained about the metabolism. Metabolism is defined or it is nothing but the sum total chemical reactions, a sum total biochemical reactions that are occurring in a living body or that are occurring in a living organisms are called as a metabolism. This metabolism can be of two types. It can be an anabolism as well as the catabolism. Can be an anabolism, it can also be a catabolism. Anabolism is nothing but the synthesis of simple compounds from the complex నుండి simple ని synthesize చేయాలి. ఇది ఏం చేస్తుంది, complex నుండి simple లోకి break చేసేస్తుంది. So it is all a process of biochemical reactions. That is nothing but a metabolism. And metabolites transform from one form to another form constantly through a chemical reactions. Chemical reactions ద్వారా ఇది ఒక నుండి ఇంకో దానికి ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది. And this anabolism is considered to be a biosynthetic pathway. దీన్ని ఏమంటున్నాము, biosynthetic pathway, because it helps in the synthesis. And this catabolism is called as a destructive pathway because it helps in the breakdown. It will destruct, right? Destructive pathway. So the formation of complex structures from a simple substances where energy is absorbed is called as a anabolism. Catabolism ante breakdown of complex into simple things. So this is all about the catabolism. And with this we have done with our third biomolecule or biomacromolecule, that is about the polysaccharides. And now fourth we will discuss about our next thing, that is And the fourth important biomolecule, that is about the nucleic acids. Nucleic acids. And this nucleic acid is commonly called as a nucleotide. This is commonly called as a nucleotides, and these nucleic acids are called as the polymers of nucleotides. These are called as polymers of nucleotides. Polymers of nucleotides, and these are also called as, here the building blocks of these nucleic acids are nucleotides, and each nucleotide consists of a 3 components. It consists of a 3 components. So what are those 3 components? The first one is a nitrogenous base. The first one is a nitrogenous base, and the second one is a pentose sugar. Second one is a pentose sugar, and third one is a phosphate molecule. Third one is a phosphate molecule. So each nucleotide, it contains all these 3 components. One is a nitrogen base, and the other one is a pentose sugar, and the last one is a phosphate molecule. Okay, phosphate molecule. So these are the 3 structures that are made up of this nucleic acid. So if you see these nitrogen bases, even people మన nitrogen bases గురించి discuss చేద్దాం. These nitrogen bases are of 2 types. How many types? These are of 2 types. What are those? Purines, pyrimidines. Purines and pyrimidines. Okay, so this purine nitrogen bases అనేటువంటివి again they have divided into 2 types, purines and pyrimidines. These purines contain these purines contain 2 CN rings. These contain 2 CN rings, and these pyrimidines contain 1 CN rings. Purines contain 2 CN rings, pyrimidines contain 1 CN ring. And purines are nothing but adenine and guanine. Adenine and guanine. And these pyrimidines are 3. Thymine, cytosine, uracil. Pyrimidines is nothing but a thymine, cytosine as well as uracil. So purines are divided into 2 types, adenine and guanine. Those are having 2 CN rings. Pyrimidines are divided into 3 types, thymine, cytosine and uracil. They will be having only 1 ring. So this is all about the nitrogen bases. So if you discuss about the nucleotide consists of only sugar and nitrogen bases. So nucleotide అని ఉంటుంది మనకి. So this is a nucleotide లో ఈ 3 ఉంటాయి. And another thing, there will be a nucleoside. Nucleoside is present. In this nucleoside only this nitrogen base is present, and this pentose sugar is present. This phosphate is absent. Okay, and these nucleosides are called as adenosine, guanosine, like that. Adenosine, guanosine, adenosine, thymidine, cytidine, uridine. అంటే they has only sugar and nitrogen bases. వీటిని ఏమంటారు నార్మల్గా? adenine, guanine, adenotide ఇలా అంటాం. And in DNA, so nucleic acids is nothing but nucleic acid contains 2 structures called as a DNA and RNA. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA is ribonucleic acid. And DNA లో ఇవి ఉన్నాయి కదా, దిస్ ఇస్ డినోటెడ్ బై A, G, T, C, U. అండ్ ఇన్ డిఎన్ఏలో నైట్రోజన్ బేసిస్ వచ్చేసరికి A ఉంటుంది, G ఉంటుంది, T ఉంటుంది, C ఉంటుంది. RNAకి వచ్చేసరికి A, G, U, C. ఇక్కడ T ప్లేస్లో ఇక్కడ U ఉంటుంది అండ్ థైమిన్ ప్లేస్లో యురాసిల్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. అండ్ న్యూక్లియోటైడ్స్ని అడినైలిక్ యాసిడ్, గోనైలిక్ యాసిడ్ ఇలా అనేసి అంటున్నాం. అండ్ కమింగ్ టు ద సెకండరీ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ DNA, దిస్ సెకండరీ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ DNA వాజ్ గివెన్ బై వాట్సన్ అండ్ క్రిక్ సైంటిస్ట్. ఇలా ఉంటుంది. It has two strands. One strand run from 5' to 3', other strands run from 3' to 5' direction. So ఇది ఎలా అటాచ్ అయి ఉంటుందంటే 5' దగ్గర ఇలా అటాచ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. 5', here there will be sugar molecule, okay, and this sugar is attached to A. This A always pair with T, G always pair with C. A की T की డబుల్ బాండ్ ఉంటుంది, జీకి సికి ట్రిపుల్ బాండ్ ఉంటుంది. ఏ ఎప్పుడైనా టీతోనే పేరప్ అవుతుంది, జీ ఎప్పుడైనా సితోనే పేరప్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇయర్ ఏ ఉందంటే టీ వస్తుంది. సో దీనికి వచ్చేసి ఏంటి, మళ్ళీ షుగర్ మాలిక్యూల్, అగైన్ ఫాస్ఫేట్ గ్రూప్. హియర్ దెర్ విల్ బి ఫాస్ఫేట్ గ్రూప్, హియర్ దెర్ విల్ బి ఫాస్ఫేట్ గ్రూప్. సో ఇలా మళ్ళీ సేమ్ ఇలా సింథసైజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ ద సెకండరీ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ ద DNA. ఏ ఆల్వేస్ ప్యూరిన్స్ వచ్చేసి AG. ఏ అనేది ఎప్పుడు టీతో పేరప్ అవుతుంది, G అనేది ఎప్పుడు Cతో పేరప్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ ద DNA structure. So this is the last biomacromolecule that we have discussed, that is a nucleic acid. Okay, so with this we have done our chapter biomolecules.